joining, man. It's good to have you on.
Hell yeah! Thanks for the invite. Yeah, I'm really stoked to chat.
Absolutely. I feel like honestly, the basketball is somewhat part of like Origami Angel's like identity a little bit.
It's part of the vibe. Here, let me flip this around so when I'm looking at you, I'm looking at the camera. That might be a high IQ move. There we go. Does that look right? Do I look messed up right now?
No, you just looks great.
Let's go. Yeah, I agree. A big part of the identity of the band is hoops for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean you guys got like you guys got merch, right? That's like basketball jerseys even.
Yeah, we've done jerseys. We got this one that I really like. It's Ronald McDonald and the Burger King King going at each other at the elbow. It's real cool at the nail.
So
Maybe
good.
would you?
Awesome.
There's that one. Yeah, we did the jerseys. We have our own jerseys, like we have our
Yeah, yeah.
origami jerseys that we wear on headliners. That we got made, so those are pretty cool.
So sick.
We have those. And yeah, like there's just like little sprinkles of hoops
Right.
culture, just all over the band's persona, really.
Hell yeah.
We
Well,
got the hoop behind me right now.
yeah, before we talk a little bit about basketball, I wanted to I like to start talking a little musical a bit, and I guess the little tip-off question I like to ask is what have you been listening to lately?
Lately, oh man, that's a
Or
good question.
also, alternatively, since it's still January, what were some of your favorite things that came out last year?
Favorite things last year. That's a good one. I have a playlist up here. I can of my top tracks. Um, let's see. Love the new Pink Shift EP that came out at the
Hmm.
end of last year. That was great. I listened to a lot this year, even though or last year, even though it
Yeah.
didn't come out. The Sore Thumb, Oh So. Love the
Hmm.
new Angel Dust record. A lot of that listened to a lot of the Break-Ins record. Break-Ins was a big one.
Okay.
Um, lately, like last couple weeks, um, been on a big Code Orange kick over the last couple
Okay.
couple
Nice.
weeks. Been on the Underneath vibe.
Yeah.
Just revisiting that record, Super Violet.
Yes.
The
Absolutely.
Infinite Spring by Super Violet. Been
Loved
listening
it.
to that a lot. The new Sweet Pill stuff. Been jamming that a
Yep.
lot. Just a lot of stuff's been in rotation. There hasn't been anything
Absolutely.
really these last couple weeks, like the beginning of 2024, that's been like I'm back to it every single day. More
Right.
just like listening to stuff. I've been doing a lot of work like non Origami Angel like music production stuff in the last
Hmm.
couple weeks. So I've been working with a couple people, and it's just been a lot of bouncing between some stuff like that. And we'll just be like
Sure.
jamming here in the office space. Like I got new monitors recently, so I always go back and like check things that I think sound amazing, by
Yeah.
like some of my favorite bands, some of my favorite producers. And I'm just like, let's check this out and just like listen to this in the new room, get more familiar with them.
Right.
So yeah, I've just been bouncing around. There hasn't been anything that's been like on this one every single day.
Cool. And I guess in terms of Origami Angel stuff going on, are you working on new music as well?
Yeah, I mean, we like to say we're always working on stuff,
Yeah. Right.
just like every band's probably always got ideas going on, whether it's playing new stuff or planning new stuff. But yeah, we definitely have a couple things in the locker right now that we're
Cool. Yeah.
we're ready to pull out and start putting on and taking out to the court.
For
Definitely.
sure. Um, yeah, I like, in a lot of your stuff, I feel like, there is this sort of consistent sound with little like differences between each album. I feel like you have like your base level Origami Angel sound, but then you have like these little like pivots within. Do you
Definitely.
feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel very, very much the same way where it's like, whenever we go through a record process or like
Yeah.
whether it's me writing a track or like we kind of, whenever we're going in on like the aesthetic of a new project, it's like, um, it's always kind of this give and take, this push and pull of like what we know is not safe for a better term, but kind of like within
Sure.
the realm that we've kind of created. And then we always kind of like say, okay, what can be in there? And which ways can we sort of like press the walls of that envelope? Which ways
Right.
can we sort of get through the semi-permeable membrane or whatever it is? Which ways can we expand this balloon? And I think it's been something we try to put a lot of emphasis on. So it's sick to hear
Yeah.
you to mention that we might not be messing it up.
Yeah, no, it almost feels like you're putting like kind of like the Gami Gang take on different genres, even like
Definitely.
on the brightest days, like you have there's like a surf song, but it
Yeah.
still sounds like you.
That was the goal. That one, I think it's been the hardest one so far to be like, how do we make this one Origami Angel? And it's
Right.
like, it took some time, but we refined that and those songs over a good period of time just to try to figure out how to get it as authentically what it is, what it's
Right.
going for, but also as authentically Origami Angel. How do we make this Gami?
For
How do we make
sure.
this
For
that it's
sure.
like, whether it's a hook or a part or like a guitar thing or just a drum vibe, a mix thing, it's like there's
Right.
always got to be something that makes it exist, because something that's
Yeah.
really important to me is just like having, so that if you had all our songs in a playlist, that there's like a homing signal almost, that it exists as a discography instead of
Hmm.
as like, oh, there's this record and this record. It's like, I think before I had talked about it with someone from Reverb, where it's like I kind of consider, instead of being like we're in this record cycle or in this, it's more like we're always just kind of adding to a living
Yeah.
discography, that it's kind of we want to bring with us to the next place that we go to.
Sure.
Never just to say like, oh, we're just gonna leave this stuff out here, because my favorite bands all do that too, right? Like if I go to see one of my favorite bands and they play one of the old things I love, I'm like, damn, they go to that next new thing. I'm like,
Right.
wait, now this new thing has a new meaning to me, and now I've seen it, and
Hmm.
that's kind of all we're trying to do is showcase what we love, what we have tried to create over the last 7 years. It's like, all we're trying to do is just make it this part of something that might be bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I feel like that makes it lasting, whereas like, um, you have a band like Brand New, which, all things with that band aside, they like the early stuff and the later stuff, it's like sounds like two completely different bands, where it's feel like Origami Angel, you're just completely growing it little by little.
Yeah, it's like a linear growth path.
Yeah, yeah.
And who knows someday. I mean, like, all things considered, it's like we've been around for 7 years now, but
Right.
as far as it goes, it's like we're still pretty young in terms of like
Right.
people making music. But like, who knows if someday that changes completely.
Right.
But for now, and like the foreseeable future and the window that I can see into, which is usually
Yeah.
6 to 18 months, things kind of have you know uh, linear is not really a word for it, but maybe the growth is
Sure.
linear. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
always a building block, and we've done so much work. It's like I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot recently with whether it's myself or other people. It's just like in anything really, you do so much, right? In life, you're always
Yeah.
building up this one thing, this one skill, this one thing. For us right now, it's built up this catalog of songs. It's like I'm not ready to kind of take the sledgehammer and take the legs out. You know what I'm saying? Of
Hmm.
something that even if I'm not the biggest fan of our first EP or our second EP anymore, as much as I was when I was 19, it still is something that at the time I was the most proud of out of anything in the world. So I don't want to. I
Sure.
want to be true to myself, true to the people who still listen from them, even if it might not be that many people. It's like still want to be true to that, still true to the band and what we've done. And
Yeah.
maybe if in our eyes, like when we're playing live, or when it comes to that old stuff versus the new stuff, if someone finds us
Yeah.
from a new record like Brightest Days, or when Summer City came out, a lot of people found out about us.
Hmm.
How can we make it, exist in this same universe where someone might come back to that and be like, oh, I never would have thought that
Yeah.
my favorite track would be Rom Hack off of Doing the Most, or maybe someone comes in off Bryce's and says, oh, this is how I found out about Depart, or I found out about anything Gen 3.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just trying to keep everything existing in a living discography.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And I feel like in that sense, Somewhere City, Gami Gang, Brightest Days, like those all feel like they're in the same universe, and like it's very, that emo pop punk kind of genre that was huge to me growing up.
Yeah,
And but then also I feel like one thing that sticks out to me is you have that EP Depart in 2022.
yeah.
What how did that come about? Because it's obviously completely different from your other stuff.
Yeah, that one and the one that we paired with it like 3 days or however
Yeah.
far apart, is over a weekend, I think, is
Yeah.
Return. The acoustic ones came out on Friday, and then Depart,
Hmm.
I think, came out Monday morning at midnight. Yeah, I mean, so we had always been like, we want to venture there. I feel like we get into breakdowns on some tracks. We
Hmm.
both obviously like being from this area and the DC area, just being Pat's background too, is just like we both like a lot of heavy stuff growing up.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I was very into Cave In and Converge through my cousin who was older than me and put me onto that type of shit. And I was like, okay, I'm into that. He would put me on a screamo stuff. I didn't really know what was sick about it because I was like
Hmm.
12 or 13. But then growing forward, I was like, okay, this is cool. So at the same time as I was kind of discovering music as an identity, I was also feeling these things through it. And similar thing with Pat, where it's like he wasn't even as in the emo world. He kind of came back from like heavier stuff, from like metal
Hmm.
stuff, and then eventually came closer to like the indie or emo world that we're in now. And this is when 7 years ago, we're a lot younger people, but we both definitely consider our roots a lot when we're making music. It's important. It's all we are. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
wow, still to this day, say Bare Naked Ladies is one of my favorite bands because it's my mom's favorite band, and she would put
Yeah,
them on,
man.
and I'd be like, hell yeah, I don't know that this is a meme. I didn't know in 2019 this would be the funniest thing in the world if I told
Right.
somebody. But when I was 7 years old, I was like, this is awesome. So I'll
Totally.
still say that. But coming back to the depart thing, it's like we always had the idea, and we were always like, it'd be cool. It'd be cooler if there was something a little extra. And then we had the return thing with
Hmm.
songs that didn't really make other projects. One of those is really old, like old as the band. The first song, Penn Hall, Live from the UFO off that record. Actually, so is Francis. Both of the first two songs on the acoustic EP are like super old tracks. So we're like, well, we're
Got
not
it.
going to do anything with them. We love them, and we feel like in this environment, it'll be like a very different thing for us, but still kind of like we are talking about linear like growth. It might be a way to
Sure.
bring some of that old stuff to a new light and then depart. We're just like, let's just have some fun, bro. Like
Yeah.
let's just do what we kind of want to do, like and go with it. And we had our friend Owen from the band Hazing Over, and formerly from Shin Guard as well, mix that, and it was a really cool experience because they're so great at that heavy music sound, and we are just
Hmm.
like, all right, like everything it mixes is just guttural, and we're like, all right, let's
Yeah.
do it. It's like we have an opportunity here. We're friends with this person. It won't be weird. Like let's just do
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, I feel like that
So
like
yeah,
that came out around the time I was like, just discovering you guys, and like
hell yeah.
it's funny if someone like still trying to like figure out a band and listen to them and they hear both those, it's like, well, I don't know which direction to
It's
go
a
in.
bit
Like,
confusing.
but like, dude, the vocals like are insane. They're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Um,
That was took a lot. I was very self conscious. I was like, we can't do it unless it's sick. It's like
yeah.
that was the thing we had too. Where it's like, it's not if it's ass, we're just not gonna put either of them
Right.
out. Like,
It's like, oh
so
shit,
we
is this the
definitely
new Origami Angel?
we
The new
recorded like
sound.
7 times. Like
Yeah.
we're the vocals of it, and yeah, pretty happy with where it is. It's always fun to bring those ones out live
Yeah.
because there's some people who really like it. It just exists another like kind of piece.
Totally.
That this is more like as we've been a band for a while, that at that point it's like, oh, we have like 50 songs out through Gama Gang. It's like maybe we
Hmm.
start just putting little weird misdirections out there
For sure.
as we continue. Just
Yeah.
keep having fun with it, and
Totally.
that's a thing. It's like we always want to just have fun too on top of it.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I guess, within the band, pivoting to the basketball element a little bit, or, are other people in the band equally, is like everyone into basketball in the band?
Yeah, well, it's just me and Pat in the band,
Right.
and we both very into hoops. Pat is more of a collegiate hoop guy.
Got it.
He being in the area, we're both DMV kids, Prince George's County, Maryland, very close to College Park, Maryland.
Hmm.
He is a diehard UMD, University of Maryland basketball head, like up there with like anyone who knows as much about
Okay.
that university's history of basketball as anybody. So he's very into that, but we are from Prince George's County, which is basketball county.
Hmm.
A lot of players from this county end up making it to the NBA. My high school classmate, Najee Marshall, is now on the New Orleans Pelicans. Pat's high
Ooh.
school classmate, Markel Fultz, is now a member of
I've
the
heard of him.
Orlando Magic, formerly of the Philadelphia 76ers. We don't
Yeah.
talk about that as much as we used to when it was really cool that he was but yeah, so like the year before Pat went to his high school, Victor Oladipo was there.
Ooh.
Kevin Durant is obviously from this area. Delonte West went to my alma mater of high school.
Man.
We there's so much basketball history in this area. I'm blanking on a couple others. Ty Lawson was
Oh, he was
from
huge
this
for a
area,
minute.
Prince
Yeah.
George's County. Huge. I mean, then they went away, but
Yeah.
like he had his moment, and many
Right.
moments. I remember when I was first really getting to basketball, I was like, Ty Lawson,
He's,
kind of him.
yeah,
This guy is cold blooded point guard,
totally.
like a prototypical at the time. But now you kind of see players that are in his mold now. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
we couldn't see this coming. This was Kyrie before Kyrie. This is Trae Young before. Obviously not to the same heights that these guys were, but yeah, guys
Right.
like Ty Lawson, and it's like a lot of hoopers from this area. Michael Beasley, a lot of bucket getters from this
Hmm.
area. So it's been surrounding me my whole life. Like I just mentioned, my high school classmate is now a member of the New Orleans Pelicans. I got to see him win a state championship in my senior
Yeah.
year of high school. But even before that, every kid, every whatever in school, it was like in most of America, I think football is the biggest sport, but my elementary school is all hoops.
Yeah.
Went from my earliest sports memories is baseball and basketball because my dad is a huge baseball head, and
Hmm.
um, he is kind of my connection to sports as a whole. He is a diehard Philly everything because he's from that area. My parents met in Philly. So obviously, you know what it's. Yeah, I don't know if you know it's like, but people know how Philly people go when it
Philly
comes to
fans go
sports.
hard. Yeah.
Philly fans go pretty much harder than any
Yeah.
fan in terms of like, okay, you're talking about all four sports, all four,
Oh
all
yeah.
four,
Yeah.
everything. It's like they're gonna go hard for all of it. Some people
Right.
like Buffalo got the Bills, right? It's like it's the thing. They're gonna go hard as anybody. Oakland Raiders back in the day, they go hard for that. It's like, no, Philly is different. It was like
Hmm.
everything. So my dad's like, yeah, you could like another team when I was like 4. He's like, you just can't root for them until you leave this house. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like that. But so I always saw all my extended family is from Pennsylvania. I'd always see how hyped they get for, football. But then they're, obviously Eagles is main thing. Jesus Christ. But so we got the Eagles, we got the Sixers, everyone's getting hyped for the Phillies and
Sorry
Sixers,
for
and
your
I'm just a
loss. Yeah.
kid in this. It's all right. Everybody's been saying that's okay. It needed to happen. It needed to
Yeah.
happen. This is not the worst thing. This ain't even the worst loss that I've experienced in the last
Yeah.
8 months. So
You
I'm
guys got a
okay.
fresh title. It's fine.
This is what I'm saying. The Eagles fans of now, right now, back on the bandwagon, they don't know. They don't know.
Yeah.
Everyone, everyone back on it now. This is ass. It's the same thing when the Phillies fans come in September and then they blow it. They're like, this sucks so bad. Blow the fuck. I'm like, guys,
Yeah.
you remember the 2017 the Phillies were awful. You know what I'm saying? Like we have it okay, and this
Yeah.
need to happen so we know what to change. Hopefully, that's just the angle I'm taking. That 27
Right.
greatest Super Bowl victory of all time. Come on, we beat the goat, our backup quarterback. I'm good. I'm good with never seeing another one in football ever. I need the hoops. I need the Sixers ring more than anything. I saw the Phillies World Series when I was a child. That was amazing.
Hmm.
But yeah, kind of just saying all this stuff. They're all diehards. We're all diehards.
Yeah.
Even though I grew up in the DC area, so it's kind of that was my connection to sports. And I'm like, okay, Sixers. I'm starting to become sentient about sports. Probably 2005, 2006. Maybe a little bit before that. 2004 is the end of the Iverson era. So I unfortunately didn't get to see him in his prime, like some of the great Philly fans before me. But I felt his impact still, and
Yeah.
especially at that time as a kid in a school where basketball is the number one sport, it's like everyone's talking about AI, right? Even when he goes to the Nuggets
Totally.
or the Pistons, he's the coolest guy ever.
That's
He's the
that's
coolest.
his thing. Yeah. He made
He's
basketball like
literally
super cool.
the coolest person. It's like, of course, you've got the greats before him who are better. You
Yeah.
got Magic, you got Michael, you got Larry Bird, you got all these dudes who are just aesthetically great at this game of basketball and are in this one brand. And then Iverson comes and you're like, wow, he is
Hmm.
just cooler. He's way
I think
cooler.
the thing with Iverson too is like, obviously Michael Jordan made like sneakers like cool in culture. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Allen Iverson made like what you wear when you play basketball cool. He had the shooting sleeve, he had the headband. I feel
She's
like
headman.
that
He made
style like became
tattoos cool in the
huge.
NBA.
Yeah,
I mean, like obviously tats were everywhere before, but he's like, hey, I'm gonna be an NBA player wearing tattoos.
totally.
Like he he went so hard that they literally had to ban shit because of David Stern's, little microaggression self.
Yeah,
But like,
put a big patch over your whole arm to cover tattoos. Like, come on.
yeah, it's crazy. But you look at AI and it's like, even too, I think as he didn't have the amount of sneaker impact that MJ did, but still the questions sold very well.
Yeah,
I'm still that
absolutely.
Reebok questions. I got 4 or 5 pairs in the house
Yeah.
right now. This is my favorite shoe of all time because I just
Hmm.
it just feels so 2005 to me. I don't know why it's
Yeah,
so cool, but it is. But yeah, so I felt the impact of AI, and I always felt very cool about him being a 76er. Because a lot of Philly stuff when it came to the Eagles back then. I'm in DC. If there, believe it or not, there is more Cowboys fans out here than there are Washington football fans.
oh,
But so you get the whole NFC East rivalry because you got a lot of
sure.
Philly people who moved down to DC. You got your Commanders people, Washington football people. That's
Hmm.
whatever. They can have that, whatever. You got the Cowboys people, and you also got some Giants people because it's very
Right, right.
common for people to move from Jersey, move from New York. That's kind of like a hub, This DC area is kind of weird like that. So you get it, and obviously you're gonna get a lot of shit as an Eagles fan. But it
Sure.
was cool to see, like, okay, there's a guy who plays or used to play for the Sixers that everyone loves. Like no one hates him, which is kind of unique
Right.
for a Philly athlete. It's like no one hates him. It's insane. So as a kid, you're like, yo, yeah, I take a lot of pride that AI was in there. You know, you got kids coming to school in Iverson 3 on
Hmm.
jersey on it, whether it's a Nuggets or a Sixers jersey. And it was like, yo, I love him. You know, he's cool. He's great. I've seen him. My dad tells me he's great. My cousins all say he was amazing. And,
Right.
you know, he meant something to them. And I was like, okay, so going to kind of take that and go with it. And at the same time, this area is very, very basketball first. And it's a time where, okay, now Kevin Durant makes it to the league, right? Like where I was younger. It's like everyone's talking about him. It's like, oh, he's from Prince George's County. He's from Capitol Heights. Like this is a guy kind of from this area. Now he's poised to be one of the next great players. Same year, maybe a year later, same thing with Michael Beasley.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was a very interesting time coming to how that would come to my life at that time because then we had the most mid Sixers teams ever, like Evan
Yeah.
Turner, Drew Holiday rookie year,
Oh yeah.
Elton Brand, Spencer Hawes,
Michael
Andre
Carter
Iguodala.
Williams, Rookie of the Year.
Woo, I'll never forget that. Me and my
Yeah.
dad went to his second game, not his first game, um, because it was Sixers Wizards 2013 October, in his rookie of the year season, and he had just had that game against the Heat where he
Hmm.
put up a near quadruple double in his first game against
Yeah.
the reigning MVP LeBron James, reigning Finals MVP and MVP, and we were like, man, we really got the next T
Right.
Mac. We really got the next Penny Hardaway. Like we are primed for the future. This
So
rebuild's
sick.
not going to take any time at all. So we watched the second game and he's hooping. I think we lose to the Wizards, but we're like, no, we got a good thing. And it's Nerlens Noel too. He was out, but he's
Oh
warming up.
yeah.
I remember being like, oh, he's shooting. Like, he's going to be a shooter. Stretch five. No, no. It all went to
Man.
shit. So if you can imagine those Sixers teams when you're like 14 to 16 years old, you got to
Hmm.
look elsewhere in the league to kind
Yep.
of like
Yep.
find something. But that is kind of inadvertently what made me love basketball even more than just being like, oh, my favorite team. Because I'm kind of like that with football, you know. I know whatever, but I'm all about the Eagles and
Yeah.
baseball. I was more into because I played baseball.
Yeah.
But with the Sixers, it was like, okay, well, we suck. If I want to see good basketball, I'm not going to find it. I'm not going to find it on League Pass, not for my
Right.
one team subscription. I'm not going to find it there. Now we could go and get some crazy seats for cheap and it'll be awesome. So we go see, oh, like who do you like on what team? You know, if me and
Right.
we were seeing extended family, it's like, oh, let's go try to see this. Let's try to see the Jazz or something. I don't know. Like let's not that I like them, but like let's try to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
whatever,
The
and we'll
Magic.
get them see. Yeah, we'll see some crazy games like
Yeah.
mid offs, you know,
Right.
and but with insane seats for like $30. We're like, yo, this is
Yes.
awesome.
It's the way.
Field of fire type of shit. It's
Right.
awesome.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that time, it's like I got to look elsewhere, and you know that was sort of right around the rise of Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors dynasty. It was at the end of the Spurs and the LeBron James Heat stuff,
Hmm.
but right at the beginning of the Cavaliers era, and it was a great time for hoops. You know, from like 2014 to like before KD joined the Warriors, and I think I think being like in the prime basketball watching like time of my life, right? It's like I don't got a job at this point. I'm not in
Yeah.
college. I'm in high school. It's like okay, this is the prime era where it's just this winter sport where I don't have to really do as much life commitment stuff. I can just vibe out. I can watch hoops. I can watch every team in the league. It's gonna be awesome. I can blow off all
Yeah.
of my homework. It'll be sick. And so that was right at the rise of Steph Curry and the Warriors, going off against the Cavaliers, and we got those epic battles. And that 2016 year was my senior year in high school, and that was Kobe's last game, Kobe's
Mm.
last year, and Kobe's last game. Um, the Villanova championship. My mom went to Villanova, so
Okay.
that was important in our
I
household.
remember this.
Uh,
Yeah.
we had that, and then we had the Cavaliers come back from 3-1, and in the same year that the Golden State Warriors came back from 3-1, I think that year really cemented as like this is the greatest sport of all time. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing better than hoops. So from then it's just like all right, when we get that shit, that was when the poison began though, because this is right around when it was like clear, okay, Joel's coming back, like he's gonna be good. We'd seen glimpses of it, whether it's
Right.
preseason or whatever, and it was
Ben
like
Simmons looks
okay,
good. At this
we're about
point,
to
Ben Simmons looks good.
yeah, I think this is pre us drafting Simmons. We got
Right.
him
Right.
that draft. So we have the number one pick, and I see LeBron win it for Cleveland, and I was like, nothing ever made me feel like we need a chip other than that. I was
Yeah.
like, we need a fucking championship.
Right.
Like I was like, it's chill when the Warriors win. I don't give a fuck. It's chill, chill when the Heat win. It's chill when the Spurs win. Whatever. It was chill
Right.
when the Lakers won when I was a kid. It was chill when the Celtics. Actually, I hated the Celtics one, but
I'm
regardless, I was
a
thinking
Bulls
all
fan.
this
I
shit.
hated the Celtics too. So
Let's go. Let's go. let's go. So everything I was like, fuck everyone. But when I saw the Cavs win and just saw LeBron crying off, I was like, we need that shit because that's how it will be. It will be
Hmm.
like that. And that was when the poison started. And I was like, it's gonna happen because we're getting Ben Simmons. It's gonna happen because Joel Embiid's not gonna get hurt again. It's gonna happen because Markel
Yeah.
Fultz will be great. It's gonna happen because we got Jimmy Butler.
Tyrese
Yeah,
Maxey is nice. I don't.
there we got Maxi now, so we're
Yeah.
good. I'm in an
Yeah.
interesting spot with the Sixers where they've let me down enough times that I have no expectations, and now it's fun because Nick
You
Nurse
just
is
you
pretty
just
cool.
ride the wave, you know?
I ride. This is an interesting year for the Sixers because I think everyone thought they would be dog shit because of the Harden stuff.
Yep.
But I think you know not to comment on Harden. I think Harden's a fine player. His time here was weird. It ended weird.
Yeah.
He is weird. That is just
Yeah.
true. I knew that before we had him.
Oh
He
yeah.
unfortunately he is one of my favorite players ever just because of I everyone hated him and I was like, okay, I think that's cool.
Right.
I like a villain and I was like, 1 year he'll be fine. I always thought he needs someone like Joel. I always thought it would be like that. I can't say he's one of my favorite players anymore after all the shit where I'm like, damn. I loved him at one point. Coming here, he's a top five for me of all time in
Right.
terms of just guys I like. Just because I love the play style, whatever. Not the free throw shit, but the fucking what he was able to do, get teammates involved. Like not the 36 point a game one. I'm talking about the one where he lost the MVP to Russ, but he was averaging like
Hmm.
29 and 11. And I was like, that's just awesome. No one does that
Yeah.
shit, and it's great. And I thought, okay, you pair a guy like this with our guy, will be sick, and we're whatever. It's like, but
Yeah.
it it was a strange time, but leaving, I was like, okay, like we're not gonna be shit. Everyone thinks we're not gonna be shit. We'll see what happens. Turns out Joel's just pretty damn good, and
Yeah.
maybe can do this shit without Harden. You know what I'm saying? It's like at the same level. It's not that much different of a team, and he has
Right.
gotten better. I'll give him that from his MVP season. He's gotten better. He's in a better position. Got 100 times of a better coach, and
There you go.
um, And I think at the end of the day, it's like he's just one of those players that can carry you in a regular season. It's gonna be one thing in the playoffs, but I'm just happy that we're not dog shit. Because the
Yeah.
same thing happened when Ben Simmons held out. There was this peak, and I realized me and my partner were talking about this first. Like, do you remember those games before Ben Simmons was traded for Harden, but the Sixers were still good? Like Joel Embiid
Yeah.
was still like dominating teams and like putting up 40 and like 11 assists. It was really cool, and it was like I was like, that's gonna be the future, and we're gonna get a scoring guard next to him, like Levine or something, and it'll be sick with Maxi Levine. And then the Harden thing happens. It's like, oh, now he's not going to touch a ball except for a shot, and
Right.
that's cool. He's one of the greatest scorers in the
Yeah.
league.
Yeah.
But it was just weird because I had more fun watching that shit than when Harden came here and it was like, oh,
Right.
same fucking play every single time. Dribble 15 seconds. All right, pick and fade or like a mid roll off the short roll off the fucking pick and roll, and it's like do that into a double team, into a face up, and it was like it's sick when it works, but it kind of isn't great to watch. Now it's like, all right, post up, nail, elbow,
Yeah.
back to the basket, and we're just gonna move. We're gonna
And now
kind of
Maxi's
beautiful.
game has gone up, so I feel like that's kind of fills that gap that you kind of wanted out of Harden a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's more in the vein of what you want next to Embiid in his
Yeah.
ideal role, right? Where it's like
He's
his
still a
ideal role
superstar.
isn't he's still a superstar and he can get you the point. I mean, he's scoring more than he did last year. He's scoring
Yeah.
30 fucking 5 points a game.
Right.
It's insane. He's also averaging 3 more assists. So it's like, let's get him, let's make him a hub for the offense instead of the
Hmm.
finisher. I like that a lot more. And I always kind of felt like that, where it's like, if he's the hub, he doesn't need to be backing guys down every play. He can get the shot, he can finish, he can also create something, whether it's a cut for Kelly Oubre, got Batum now in the corner. Even Tobias Harris, who I got a
Right.
toxic relationship with, he'll come in for the cut, or they'll create stuff. They'll create stuff off dribble handoffs, use that backside as a pick and roll action. It's like it's a lot better to watch, and then it allows him to be more engaged defensively as well. Where it's like, okay, we
Hmm.
get back. We're not always finishing everything. Maybe he can get more engaged as a rebounder. Not last night, but
Yeah.
he has been at points of this season. Um, I think it's just allowing a better course of basketball actions to come, which I'm optimistic about the future of the team. I don't know if this is a year where something like that happens, or something
Never know.
special happens, but you're building something. And
Yeah.
all of this is about building shit. I think we've seen that in the last couple of years, when
For
it's
sure.
about the Bucks or the Warriors chip in 2022, which doesn't feel real, but um, last year the Nuggets, it's like consistency is
Oh
everything.
yeah.
Like you get guys around your superstar that fit, and maybe Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are around Jokic enough that you get this synergy that you just
Hmm.
can't replace by hunting stars. Every whatever star that would look good next to whatever player. I think you're seeing that.
Yeah.
You've seen that at times with like the Suns. It's like, okay, you trade for KD in the middle of the season, but you don't have the synergy yet.
No,
You know,
no. And I
and
feel
that's the
like,
team that was in the finals a couple years ago.
right. And I feel like too, like there are thoughts of maybe the Sixers do trade for like Levine or DeRozan off the Bulls, but like,
Yeah,
do you need it at this point? Like, would you rather just have that chemistry and
yeah,
forego another superstar, so to speak?
yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, what are you what are you looking after? Now, obviously, I don't know the question. I don't know the answer to these questions. I'm not a GM,
Right.
so I'm not a GM. But like, as just someone who does watch a lot of hoops and sees teams that have been great post the LeBron dominance era, a
Hmm.
lot of it is like teams that have synergy. The Warriors had so much synergy even after Kevin Durant because those guys have
Yeah.
played together until they're washed. And now it's like, okay, well, obviously they're gonna fall off at some point, but they have
Right.
so much synergy. The Bucks had so much synergy because that same core just switching out who Eric Bledsoe for Drew Holiday. Like really, it's
PJ
just a better
Tucker
version.
and yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they get your pieces
Yeah.
after like to those guys, but Middleton and Lopez and Giannis and I mean those three guys have been together for and built something even when they were getting bounced in the second round.
Hmm.
And then you come say, okay, we're gonna make some upgrades where we can. Eric Bledsoe is now Drew Holiday. You got a guy, a middling guard to the best guard defender in the NBA. Now you have the best defense in the NBA. And you got a guy who can go off for, just another option, someone who can be a synergetic, I guess that's a word, option in your offense
Right.
and in your
Right.
defense. Like, okay, now you just advance that. It's kind of the Nuggets thing too, right? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, now we got Aaron Gordon in here, but into a system that we know he's going to fit in. He's
Hmm.
going to be able to cover up deficiencies of some of our other players, but we still have a consistency before him. It's not five guys learning a new offense
Exactly.
every single season, which I think that's been kind of the Sixers issue in the past. And like you can say like I think Morey's a great GM, but sometimes he just goes star hunting. It's like let's just fucking put things together.
Right.
And on the Rockets, he's like just put things together and it'll work. And I'm like it'll work in the regular season because at the time, prime James Harden was one of the best offensive conduits that the league's ever seen. It'll work in the regular season because Joel Embiid is a two-way force that can
Right.
carry you by himself to a top 5 seed. But we need to see more synergy. And I like that Maxey has come into this role and been able to, spread his wings a little bit without James.
Hmm.
But I'll give credit to James. James taught Maxey a lot of this stuff. And I think forcing Maxey to play off ball off of
Yeah.
James and Joel has made him an ideal player now as a number two, where it's like, okay, he can come off, what an off ball screen. He can come, he can cut, he can come. He's great in the DHO. But at the same time, you need him to come and take a step back three or call for a screen, go the other way. It's like he's going to be able to do all that stuff at a higher level than he would have otherwise. So if there's any silver lining to the Harden
Yeah.
experience, it was that.
It's exciting to watch. I feel like, with the Sixers, it's like it doesn't matter honestly what seed you are. I think you'll be top three seed, four at worst, maybe, but like
Yeah, depending on
you'll
the
be in the
Knicks are going to
playoffs.
run.
Yeah, you'll be in the playoffs. So it really comes down to all right, let's just like do good enough during the season and the playoffs. We have that sort of chemistry to get it through.
Yeah, build something with a new coach. It might not be this year, but depending on matchups, I think that's another thing we're seeing in the playoffs recently, though,
Hmm.
too, is that matchups are kind of everything. Before in the past, it just felt best talent's going to win every single time.
Right.
But I think with the evolution of the 3 point game, the evolution of coaching, the evolution of these star players, and kind of the talent of the league getting, at its worst, a little bit better. And I think sometimes that it's peak a little bit closer
Yeah.
together. Let's just say that. I don't know. I can't really tell you, anything, but
Yeah.
it's
We're just
much more
fans.
close. Yeah, we're just fans, but it feels a lot closer when you're watching like
Yeah.
your 10 rotational players than it has in the past, at least to me, where it's like, coming up from my era was like, okay, well, it's going to be fucking Kobe and the Celtics every
Hmm.
year. And then it turns into, well, it's going to be LeBron and whoever in the West, LeBron and the Spurs or the Lakers, LeBron and, OKC, like Kevin Durant for however long. Oh, it's going to be LeBron and Curry, where it just felt every single year, whoever's the most talented team is going to get to the finals, no matter what their play style
Yeah.
was. If you had two or three of these guys, you're good. Now it kind of feels like that shit has gotten so much closer together. That's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
the Heat are matched up against the Bucks. One bad thing happens. We're looking at an 8 seed sweeping, you know, almost.
Right,
You know,
right.
we're looking at 8 seeds demolishing a 1 seed.
Hmm.
And you know, there's injuries involved in there too, but at the same time, Giannis was injured when they won a championship.
Yeah, true.
You know, it's
I mean,
it's not that different.
yeah, and you're also in an era where like, yeah, this Warriors dynasty is dying down. Like,
Yeah,
who are like the guys you're guaranteed to see up there? Jokic. I mean, like the Nuggets, like
Jokic.
you can pretty much count on Jokic to and the
You can
Nuggets
count
to
on
be up there,
Jokic.
but like it's all closer together. I think that's just generally the NBA now.
They're not. Yeah, it's there's no team, and I love that. I think the play-in tournament has lended to that a little bit too. But I
Hmm.
think also naturally, just over time, as the LeBron dynasties and the Warriors dynasties have kind of faded out,
Yeah,
and sort of the power of Kevin Durant being able to carry a team has sort of tailed
right.
off too a little bit. Where it's like, okay, well, these 3, 4 main faces, they'll get you there. They'll get you
Hmm.
there, but they might not be able to just laugh in the face of your Jokic's, your Giannis's, your Joel's, your whoever, even like an up and coming team like the Thunder or
Yeah.
like the
Oof.
Grizzlies a couple years
Yeah,
ago.
for sure.
Like you got teams now where it's like, oh, I could see them. You know, it's not a sure thing over there. It's not a sure thing in the East where it's like Boston looks great. Boston's fucking amazing. I hate that.
Yeah, I know.
Um, they look
Same.
great. You know, at the same time, it's like you got teams that just put a little synergy together, like the Knicks. We're talking about like a team adding to Drew Holiday, similar as like that might be what OG is to OG
Right.
Anunoby. I don't know. I don't think so, to be honest. But you don't really know until you see
True.
that shit, and you can have a good idea. You can have a hunch, but you never know. In terms of a matchup, it's like maybe the Knicks just match up great against the Bucks for some reason,
Yeah.
and they can do it. You see a lot of stuff like that where it's like there's some matchups, 3-6 matchups that have been close. You get some, not to bring up, as you mentioned, being a Bulls fan, but you see some 3-6 matchups like the Bucks and the Bulls, and it's like
Uh,
this is basically a first round bye. You know,
it
shit
is.
like
I don't disagree with you at all.
that year's fucked up though, because like I do my fair Bulls research, and I I do believe that window where Lonzo was healthy on the Bulls and they were the number
They
one
were
seed going into the
strong.
playoffs, I believe. That was some beautiful basketball right there. That was beautiful
Hmm.
hoops. I thought that was a great constructed team. I thought Lonzo's rise was really underrated, and I think now you can kind of tell he was a glue to that team that not a lot of teams have a contending. Not a lot of contending teams have a piece like that. That's like, okay, we're on a reliable distributor who can lock the fuck up on defense and is
Hmm.
big for a guard. Like that was really
Well, and you
underrated.
also have the other one in Caruso, like next to him, like doing kind of the same thing.
Damn, yeah. So you got two big guards,
Yeah.
Levine, who is also a big guard by a scoring machine.
Hmm.
Um, this is they have Vucevic that year. Did they have?
I think that
Did
was
they
the year
get
they
Vooch?
got that was the year they
They
got
got
Vooch, I
Vooch.
think.
They got Vooch. Yeah.
Maybe the year
You
before. But yeah, either way, like, there was plenty going on. I think that was also the first year we had DeRozan.
yeah, they had got DeRozan in free agency that offseason. They got both Lonzo and DeRozan,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people were clowning them, being like, "Oh, this is
Right.
whatever." But I'm like, "Yo, these are some great wings on this team. A lot of good
Hmm.
wings on that basketball team that are going to do some damage." And they did. I remember because them and the Sixers were the top 2 seeds going into the All Star break that year, and that was the year we didn't have Ben, where Ben sat out. And I remember a lot of people being very surprised at the Bulls' ability to put on a run and the Sixers' ability to go on a run without a max contract.
Yeah.
Like just basically sitting on refusing to play. So I do remember that very, very, very fondly. And the Bulls are a team too where it's like I I'm a hater. I'm a huge hater of a
Hmm.
lot of Eastern Conference teams, but I could never really find the energy to hate the Bulls with a lot of
Yeah.
vitriol the same way my older Sixers companions do. I didn't experience the Jordan era, so
Hmm.
I don't have that. To me, Jordan's just a goat. So I'm like, whatever. Y'all haven't really
Yeah.
done anything since then, so I can't feel bad.
Exactly.
It's just I can't feel bad about when the Bulls are good, and I can have sympathy. It's like a Pistons type of thing for me.
Yeah.
Like it's like I didn't get to see their peak even when they're they're great in the 2000s, and I remember that, but I caught more the tail end of that as
Right.
LeBron was taking them down. So I can't feel bad for I do feel bad, but I can't feel bad when they're good.
Sure. Yeah. And
I'll
the
be
thing with
pissed when the Celtics are good.
right. The thing with that season you were talking about too is like the Bulls were good, but they could not beat good teams, including the Sixers, who just
True.
dominated them in every single game.
I don't know what it is, man. I think if I was a Bulls fan, I would think Joel Embiid is the greatest player of all time because
He
I think I've watched
destroys
him put
every
up
single time.
50,
Yeah.
50s. There's 3 teams. Me and our manager Tim is from Philly. And he's a big Sixers fan as well, and we have like a group chat with some Philly heads. but we were talking recently because we went to go see last season Joel play the Hornets and put up 53.
Yeah.
And we were like the Hornets, the Bulls, and the Wizards. If you were a fan of those three teams, you might think Joel isn't beat is actually God. Because I remember me and my partner went to a Wizards game here where Joel played. He got 50. We saw that 53 against the Hornets. I saw him put up 48 in DC last year. Um, we saw him put 47 against the Nuggets last year. That's a great game, him against Jokic. But it's like, it's crazy to me too, because it's almost normalized. But I'm like, when I used to go to Sixers game back in the day, our leading scorer had like 22 points. It'd be Evan Turner.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
like this is a blessing to see
Andre
this guy.
Iguodala.
Yeah, Iggy's special is he put up 18 points, 8 rebounds, 5 turnovers, 30% from the field. But
Right.
I remember that a little too well. But
Yeah,
the free
right.
throws, man, he was good with that shit.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Iggy was great. It was cool. But yeah, there's some teams where Joel just go the fuck off on him, and the
Yeah,
Bulls is one. So that I know you've seen and been on the other side of some master
absolutely.
classes. Unfortunately, I think he just gets up. I think he gets up to play Jordan's old team. It's like what he
Hmm.
said, where he's like,
Yeah,
they
right.
know good basketball, and he thinks Michael Jordan's a goat. He's like, I want to get up and rub it in their face.
Yeah.
I think
I, I
that's
buy
cool.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
before that, that's the shit Dwayne Wade would do,
Right.
against the Chicago back in the day, and as a hometown thing for him
Right.
too. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, I remember that the Bulls not really being able to beat as many good teams, but still it was
It
kind of a question mark.
happens.
It's like what can they do? What can they
Yeah.
do if everyone's healthy? Sadly, the Lonzo thing has gone such a crazy
I
thing.
know.
He's like not scheduled to play until maybe end of next season, right?
Yeah, it's to
That's
me
crazy.
it's
I've never seen anything like that.
it's in the past for me. Like if he does play for the
Yeah,
Bulls ever again, it's a surprise. Um,
right. It's like a
so
Markel thing that
yeah,
we
yeah.
had where it's just a
I
sad
don't
thing
know,
you can't
man.
control. Yeah, I'm really bummed about that too with Lonzo because I mean he was just kind of finally turning it around too, and
Hmm.
like not just the game. I think his game had been turned around since he was in New Orleans, but no one wanted to watch those games.
True.
But I think he was turning around his reputation, like
Yeah.
league wide. It was getting to be known, like, oh, this guy can be a sniper from the 3 point line,
And his
six
dad was
attempts
kind
a
of
game,
quieter. He wasn't like as
fading
involved.
offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's right as his brother was coming into the league.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it's disappointing too. So I definitely feel for the Bulls on that one.
Yeah.
I know what it's like having
For
a
sure, for sure. I guess
player
another
get on the wall.
question I had, I guess, in regards to I guess like the band and stuff is when it comes to basketball, are there any moments like on tour or any where basketball and the music have kind of collided other than what you say in like your jerseys and stuff? Are there any like stories you have where you meet people on tour who are really into hoops or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean we've definitely toured with some people that do really love basketball. Recently we were in Japan with Oso
Oh,
Oso.
sick. Yeah.
And Jade loves hoops. He's a big Knicks fan. So we got
Cool.
a little thing going back and forth. But he's such like a wholesome, positive guy that I like can't
Yeah.
talk shit to him.
Yeah,
So
right.
I'm just like
And that's in
like
your Philly core.
I know I'm like, fuck, this guy's so nice. I can't hate him.
For a Knicks
um,
fan, that's surprising though, because Knicks are right up there with Philly fans.
they are different for sure. I think
Yeah,
almost we have a little camaraderie where it's like,
yeah,
we both know we're kind of like in this phase right now where it's like we're not hanging out too much. Or on this tour. It's like we don't maybe want to overshoot, but
right.
I think it's kind of like this what's the word, like a standoff, like we're just
Yeah.
like, all right, who's gonna be a piece of shit first?
Hmm.
Who's gonna
Hmm.
save something fucked up first? But no, so like Jade loves hoops, and we got to talk a lot about hoops, and there was a couple times where like, yo, there's a basketball court in Japan, we should try to do it, but we ended up not being able to.
Yeah.
Um, that was an awesome experience overall, just even outside the hoops, just being there with everybody and just being in Japan was awesome. But
Hmm.
it was really cool just to be able to catch up with Jade, like on the train. Sometimes we would just be talking. He'd talk about his favorite Knicks memories and going to games and stuff. And
Yeah.
he's a big Yankees fan too, and
Cool.
so we have this Phillies Yankees thing going on. But
Right.
so there's that, and there's one tour where we did the Wonder Years. We did their Upsides in Suburbia 10-year anniversary tour, and that was on that tour. James Harden got traded for Ben Simmons, and
Oh.
they're from Philly.
Oh, cool.
Degenerately Philly heads
Yeah.
in terms of hoops, in terms of everything. Right, they're the type that like they'd be on their bus, fucking put the Birds game on, like type of shit. They're like, yo, come through, watch it, like,
Right.
um. and then especially Dan from the band loves all sports and is always into it. And we talked a lot on that tour, just talking about Sixers, talking about stuff. It'd be like, oh, like there's a down Joel Embiid poster, Jared Allen. I see
Yeah,
it. I'm like, holy shit! On my phone, we're walking around backstage, and she's like, yo, you see Joel? I'm like, yeah, dude, I saw the shit. Um, so that was a big one. It's like a 2 month long tour too,
that's
and we were
sick.
the second band on it, and so we were like not like we were only playing like 30 minutes a night, if that. And it's
Hmm.
like, okay, like we like don't gotta be at the venue as early as we usually
Hmm.
do. We're just vibing out. So that's where we were hooping a lot. It was
Cool.
me, Pat, Dan, our tour manager. We would go out and just like find a place and we just put up shots and we just
That's
like a couple
sick.
hours a day. That was the most that and the tour we did before with Mom Jeans in November of 2021 was like the most we ever hooped on tours. We would just be every day. We were like, fuck it.
That's
Like we
so
got so
sick.
much time. We were running such a small crew back then. It was just three
Yeah.
people. So we didn't have to like worry about, oh, this person taking a shower. This person. It was like,
Hmm. Hmm.
let's go, let's get out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
Wherever we're staying that night, and it's like, oh shit, we're 3 hours early. Arizona, oh, it's a park over here. Let's go. Let's go to things. So we've had
Cool.
some legendary one-on-one
Yeah,
games
yeah.
between
Did
me and Pat. Um,
did I hear something too that maybe this is completely wrong, but that you guys sometimes do like some like practice sessions like on courts or something, like you'd play acoustic or something? Am I making that up?
I don't know if we've ever done that, if I'm being
Okay,
honest, but
that's fair.
it sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. Well, we do
um,
something called half court sessions where people perform on court. So
I
if you
would
guys
do
come
that.
through
I would,
Chicago, come through.
yo, I would love to. That would be so fucking cool.
Yeah, hell yeah, sick. Um, cool, man. So the last thing I want to do is I we have a little game at the end. I don't know if you saw in the email.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
It's a fun little name association game, kind of like we got a player and who is like the musician comp, whatever that
Equivalent type thing. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's do all these Sixers players and
yeah. So I saw your list. I have some options. I have a couple cop outs for a couple,
okay,
but
cool,
I
cool.
got you.
So let's start with Tyrese Maxey as we've been talking about.
This is the one I have a cop out for. I have two answers for this because I thought about this a lot. So the first thing that comes to me with Tyrese Maxey is speed, youth, energy,
100%.
wholesome. You know, there's a band in my area, in the DMV area, pretty small band right now called Combat. The
Hmm.
way you would spell Combat, COMBAT. They're awesome band, like in the likes of just all the cool fucking California indie punk bands that have come before them, but
Right.
they're very young kids. Like the kid Holden is like 19 years old. He's writing great songs. They're so fucking cool to see live. So much energy. They're the Tyrese Maxey comp to me in terms of 1-to-1,
Yeah.
but not a lot of people are going to know as much of it. They will soon. They will know about combat soon. But
Hmm.
I promise you, I promise you. But so for the bigger picture one, I think early Joyce Manor. That's just the thing to me where it's just like
Ooh.
feels fun. It feels so fun to watch. It's like with me, my relation for early Joyce Manor songs, I just feel like, man, I don't even give a fuck about what they're
Yeah.
saying. This shit's just fun, like
Right.
and that's me going to shows back in the day and like the Never Hung Over Again era, which
Hmm.
isn't really early. It's like middle, but um, they're one of, if not my favorite band of all time. So
Yeah.
and Tyrese is one of my favorite players. So I
Hell
think
yeah.
it fits a
That's
lot, and
a
that's just kind of
that's a
the
fun,
energy
just fun.
it,
Yeah.
just fun. It's a fun and wholesome and
Right.
a good energy. And it's like everyone. That's the other thing too. It's like I don't really meet a lot of people in the scene. I meet a lot of people with some hot takes. I don't meet a lot of people who are like, "Oh, Joyce Manor." There's the same thing as like everyone we're talking about with AI. It's like people hate Philly athletes, man. People hate Joel. But
Yeah.
I will go routinely on whether it's like Reddit or Twitter and stuff. It's like Celtics fans,
Right.
Knicks fans, Bulls fans, every type of fan, Lakers fans will be like, man, I just love Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
I've loved watching this kid play. It sucks that he's on the Sixers, but I love him. And I'm like, hell yeah, like he's
Absolutely.
that he's that cool.
He's just like, yeah, such a pleasant guy. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm in the same kind of boat as you. I went somewhere in between because like yes, he's fast, he's like intense, but he's like just like
Mm-hmm.
pleasing. And I went with a Wilhelm Scream, you know that band?
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
I feel like they're very you know, they fucking shred. And it's
Yeah.
very fast paced, but it's also very melodic, which is like very
Mm-hmm.
like pleasing to listen to, even though it's like
Straight up.
even lyrically, it's like very intense shit, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. I feel
So
that
yeah,
for sure.
I feel like that's somewhere like in between Joyce Manor and who was your first pick again?
Combat.
Combat. Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's I feel like that's somewhere in between what you're describing.
Definitely,
Cool.
definitely.
All right. So the second one is the ever present Allen Iverson.
Yeah, I think this one almost feels like How About Two, but it's just he's so
Right.
cool. It just turnstile. It's just he's like the band that everyone would be like, that band's fucking cool. Just like
Hmm.
even not about the music, just these people. Like people would seem like rock stars. People would seem
Right.
larger than life in terms of just like what you see on a stage where you're like, holy shit, this is
Hmm.
fucking awesome. It's like this is great. Same thing as like kids will be talking about turnstile relativistically the way that they talked about Allen Iverson. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Like they'll
Yeah.
be like, "That's cool ass shit," and it'll just put people on to what they are doing.
Right.
That feels like a cop out just because it feels like the coolest band. So
Yeah. No, that's totally accurate though, because like even when you look at them, like they made this like kind of like punk hardcore stuff like pop in a
yeah,
way, and that's like it brought in the audience so much, and I think
it's
that's
crazier than you'd ever imagine, and to
yeah.
see where that like sphere extends to is insane. Where it's just like things look a lot differently in that genre, but just in terms of the music as a whole right now, in most
Hmm.
spheres look a lot differently before and after the rise of that band. Just like
Totally.
you see the shows that they're playing. Like see them play in DC one year it's 9:30 Club, next time it's the
Yeah.
Anthem, which is 6,000 cap venue. It's like that's insane. That's a lot of people. That's like a basketball court.
Yeah. That's yeah, it's insane. And their rise, I feel like I couldn't have picked a better band for that. I wish I picked that. Um, because as I was trying to think of Iverson, it's just like, how do you how do you pick someone to embody like a guy like him? I don't even like my pick anymore, but I went with
I want to
someone
hear it.
who's like Bjork, because it's
I,
like
I can see that is
you
unique. Yeah.
what a unique iconic voice, but like
Iconic. Yeah.
maybe you might not like him, but like you can't doubt the influence that
Exactly.
echoed beyond.
I fuck with that.
Yeah,
That makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense
yeah.
in that
I
comparison.
I tried to find someone who like totally influenced so many
Iconic.
so many people
Just
after.
iconic.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if you that's the thing with Iverson, it's like even if you don't watch basketball, you know who he is just because of his
Yep.
style and like who he is. And people know Bjork because she's strange as hell. But even if you don't know
Yeah.
her
And
music,
the yeah, and even a layer further than that, it's like even if you don't know who York is, even if you don't know who Allen Iverson is, you definitely have at some point engaged with media that is
yeah,
heavily influenced, if not just ripping that shit off. You know what I'm
totally.
saying? Because of just the influence, and for
Yeah.
AI and for Bjork. And I said for Turnshot too, I think it goes a little bit further than the respective
Hmm.
fields. Beyond the creative field, beyond the sports field, I think there's
Totally.
influence in multiple ways, whether it's stylistically, aesthetically.
Hmm.
I think that's kind of I think all three are in that same ballpark, and
Yeah.
that's kind of like just when you think about someone being iconic in a genre,
Yeah.
uh, really anything, movie making, anything like that, they're going to stand alone, not just because of their creative output, but also because of their own stylistic output, just because they're
Right.
that level. You know
It's
that
just
that's
pop
Iverson.
culture, a pop culture icon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pop
Sick.
culture icons, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So the third one is a little bit more of a deeper cut, and then we went
This is a
with
tricky one.
Jerry Stackhouse, who
The
was only a
stack
Sixer for a couple of years, but he was drafted by them.
drafted by the Sixers, traded to I want to say the Pistons before I was born.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
right? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
98.
Because that's where he blossomed.
Yep,
He was good
yep.
right out the gate though.
Yeah. That's the thing is, Stackhouse. I from my experience with Jerry Stackhouse, it might skew what my answer is.
Fair.
But Jerry Stackhouse, my answer is based on the version I know of him, which is a Dallas Maverick, which
Mm.
is a later in his career player, right? But he was at the time still this athletic kind of freak dude. It's like you got this
Hmm.
dude with a Michael Jordan esque body, right? Because I think at one point he was one of those dudes that's like, oh, he'll be the next MJ, right?
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
terms of, he's a high flyer, he can dunk, and he's got this very aesthetically pleasing athletic game, but he was also a hustle guy on the
Hmm.
Mavericks. That's what I remember him as a dude diving for loose balls, being very physical. Even though he's a 6'6" player, he would get out, box out rebounds, put back dunks, type of
Totally.
stuff like that. That's what I would see. So what I see in that is a band that is very graceful in terms of their musical approach, like the writing, the songwriting, but also still very raw at their core. And even if they've evolved past it, or at some point, had more of a scoring bag, this is more the basketball thing. If he was more of a scorer at one point, and then more of a hustle player later,
Hmm.
just a combination of at different points in their career being graceful, but also having a raw grittiness and just very blunt and in your face. My answer is Mannequin Pussy. Just in terms of like, it's a band. They have hooks. They have shit that goes hard. They got grittiness, but at the end, it's graceful in the songwriting. It's just well put together. It's a
Mm-hmm.
great picture. Aesthetically, it combines the grace and the grit as good as any band in any scene can do it. And I just felt like that was the comparison for Stack to me,
Sure.
the version that I know, where I knew of him being an older guy, and I had heard about like, when he'd do some shit, be like, oh, he still got it type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's still got the hustle, he still got all the stuff. And then I'd obviously seen highlight tapes from back in the day of him throwing it down, being in transition, being a high flyer. So I kind of just put the two together, and that feels like Mannequin
Yeah.
Pussy to me.
Very nice. Yeah, that's a good comp for sure. Um, yeah, the way I thought of it is I kind of went the opposite end where you thought of him later at post Sixers. I thought of him how he got drafted, and he was good, but then he got his all stars in Detroit, and kind of more
Right.
people kind of gravitated towards him. So like a band that I thought was good when they came out, but like maybe they got their flowers a little bit more as they went on as a band, would be the Replacements.
Oh, okay.
I feel like the Replacements obviously were,
That's a good
were
pick.
good when they came out, but they got more and more attention as time went on. Even though Stackhouse did
True.
have the hype coming out, but he got his
Yeah.
credit due later.
Yeah. He had to build for it. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good pick. That's a good pick.
it's crazy. He was traded like only like in the second season, right?
Yeah. 2 or 3 years into the career,
Wow.
right at like the blossoming points of Allen Iverson's career,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, true,
It's very
true.
interesting. I guess the front offices panic sometimes,
Yeah,
and
true.
they're like, "We got AI, we need to do something." You
Right,
know,
right.
there's a lot of moves like that you can look at, but yeah, it is
Yeah,
crazy looking back like 20 years removed and being like, "Damn, that
yeah.
might not have been a good idea."
Well, our last one is the goat that you talk about is Joel Embiid.
My hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is so hard for me too to put one to. I have an answer. It also feels slightly cop outish. Um, I have like two answers kind of, but
Yeah,
I have a
yeah.
main one, and it's only because when I think of Joel now, I think of a person who has it's a couple levels. Someone as a player who is Philly to his core, right? He is a 76er. He gets what it means to be a Philadelphia athlete. He understands his role in the city. He understands his role in the organization. He understands his role to the fans.
Mhm.
And he's a guy who has been known to F around a little bit, but back in his day, he was a troller.
Yeah.
He would troll you on Twitter, he'd do whatever. But as his career's gone on, as his life has gone on, as he's had a child, as he's gotten married, he's become more of a mature person to
Hmm.
an extent. And he's put on a very um, a more mature persona uh, towards the later years of his career, as towards getting MVP, become a family man. When I think of a band with a similar trajectory as that, it's none other than a band that is Philly to their core. It is the Wonder Years, a band who,
Ooh.
over their entire discography, I know I mentioned them earlier, and we
Yeah.
mentioned, talk about this stuff, and that's why it feels like a cop out because it's the Philliest of Philly bands.
Yeah.
But when you talk about a band who has roots, where they start a band, it's just like, let's just all be guys in a band and do this stuff. And it's not to call them trolling back then, but it was like a very youthful pop punk energy that reminds me of the tongue in cheekness that Joel Embiid had as his career. So now we get Wonder Years records talking about fatherhood and what it's like
Yeah.
to be a parent, and what it's like to grow as an adult. And I think that that's very similar to an arc that Joel Embiid has had as a human being as he's gone through certain things. And maybe it's just because I've been close to them when we've had those conversations about Joel and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But there's that, definitely. But I think in the terms of the play style, he has a little bit of a different band in him, and that band is Angel Dust, where it's
Okay.
kind of just like fuck you. This is what I am. Like, oh, you hate that I shoot free throws. Oh, you hate that this isn't what it used to be. Fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm just gonna authentically be what I am, which is a hooper, which
Hmm.
is what Angel Dust is, which is a slapping band. So I,
Yeah.
I kind of see that in terms of the energy of the play style, but definitely the player, the person behind the basketball feels Wonder Yearsy.
Sick.
That's my answer for Joel. I don't think
That's
he's not a one band player, but I'm interested to
yeah,
see what you
yeah.
say.
No, that's perfect because like I am 100% in the same lane as you because I went with a band, musician rather, but that's personality wise. where the early stuff is like kind of silly even, because you said
Yeah.
he's a troll, but then he matured later in his career, or not later, but he grew up a little bit, matured, got his award, got his MVP. Where this I picked Beck, who
Okay.
early in his career, he was making silly songs. He's got Devil's Haircut. He's got,
Yeah.
Loser, very silly
Yep.
songs. And but then, he writes like Sea Change, and he starts making these more serious albums. Won his
Yeah.
Grammy in
Yeah.
2015. And honestly, like kind of even like matured in the same timeline a little bit, although Beck obviously has been around forever. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like just the
That's a
maturity
great
is where
pick.
I went. Yeah.
That's a great pick. I love that. I love that. And the evolution too. I feel like musically evolving from this very like raw and
Hmm.
trolly thing, but obviously being great, and then kind of refining that into this
Yeah.
more where you look at Joel from back in the day, he was doing all this crazy shit, blocking people, running up the court, screaming at people, and now it's like, okay, this is a 7 foot guy who can come
Hmm.
give you the hezzy, come up and fake a post spin and then go off the
Yeah.
thing, and it's the grace in the person, the grace in the music, and the grace in the basketball game all kind of go together as they evolve.
And back from
That's
when
a
he
great
was
pick.
trying to holler at Rihanna on Twitter and shit, like
Yeah,
he's a wild dude. Sometimes I wish like the silly guy would come out more.
yeah. I think if he gets what he needs to get done, he'll be a lot more
Right.
silly. I think
Totally.
that's really the thing. I think all you need is one championship, and you'll get the
Yeah.
trolling
Yeah.
back.
For
You'll get the
sure.
silliness. You'll probably see all-time levels of trolling. First, you'll see
Yeah.
you crying. So you will be,
Oh yeah.
stoked if he ever is to win a chip. But then you will see, generational levels, MVP, unquestionable MVP levels of trolling for a
Totally.
whole summer, and it'll be dope. It'll be
Yes.
dope.
That'll be so fun. I want a show about just entirely about that. Like a Hard Knocks level of show about just like the Sixers winning a championship. That's what we
The
need.
trolling, yeah, the
Yes.
the generational level of trolling that ensues after. That'd be so cool. I'd be down. I say if
That,
they ever even come close, I'll be the person. I'll
yeah.
follow Joe around with the camera for 24/7, nine
There we
days a week
go.
if you need me to.
Hell
Just
yeah.
just let me know. Just hit me up. NBA films. I don't know if you got NBA films, but NBA
Right.
TV. If you ever need someone, I'm always here. I'm always available. We can move around the touring schedule for whatever. I just want to meet Joe. I just want to tell
It's
him
got to
tell him
happen.
that I think we understand each other.
All right, man. Well, this is great.
Yeah, it's been really
I,
a lot of fun.
definitely. I'm glad you got to come on. It's been great talking hoops to you. Hope you
Yeah,
guys can
great.
come through. You have a tour coming up?
We have some shows in March, but nothing coming to Chicago. But I believe we might be coming to Chicago later. It just might not be announced right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's definitely not announced right now as we're IRLing this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Soon, but I think we will be in that area. It'd be really
Do,
cool to do a half
do I
court
do I
one
need
day.
to cut this out or something?
No, you're good.
Okay. But yeah, anyone listening, just keep an eye out for Origami Angel coming to your city. Yeah.
We'll be there soon. We're playing a couple shows in March, and then we'll be playing shows. If you want to
Yeah.
see us, we will play shows eventually.
Hell yeah.
Um, yeah.
All right, dude. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's been a blast.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been really great.
All right, for sure. Take care.